Welcome to the Ambitious Coach Lab, powered by 90. I'm your host, Dr. Cam Lawson. Each week, we explore the real tactics, tough conversations, and breakthrough moments that drive coaching success. Let's jump into today's episode. All right. Well, I am so excited to have this conversation. We've got Deb Niewald with us. She is an expert EOS implementer based in the Kansas City area, where we're coming to your backyard for the next EOS conference, which is got to
So
be the easiest travel for you. I'm a little jealous, but no, excited to come up that way. And then we've also got Jenna Spencer with us. She is the founder and visionary of AssistPro, which is a virtual assistant company. So Jenna and I, we actually at the last EOS conference really met and kicked it off. We've kind of gone back and forth a little bit, but I feel like we really were able to deep dive a little bit deeper in the relationship at EOS conference. And so we wanted to have a conversation really just about kind of the virtual assistant, executive assistant type thing, and really bring you both in because you guys work together. So,
yeah,
Deb, if you want to kind of kick it off and just share a little bit about how you came to the conclusion that maybe an EA was something that you needed to pursue and how you got in touch with Jenna.
yeah. Um, so I would say as a solopreneur, starting out as an EOS implementer, I probably resisted. And there were a couple of EOS implementers in our community. And I think when I first came on to EOS, I was like 65, 66 number EOS implementer. Now there's over 900 or 800 and change. But anyway, I kept telling myself when I get to 10 clients, I will pick up the phone, I will call, I will have a conversation. At the same time, I kind of was like managing all of it at once. And I think I don't even realize that I was a little bit overwhelmed. I was dealing with business development, I was doing the administrative tasks, I was in the session room, I was also making myself available to clients in between sessions. And I don't think that I realized that I was running on fumes for as long as I was because as an entrepreneur, you just kind of you dive in and you just go, I can manage it all. Until I got to the point where I said, you know what, I am one person, I don't have the capacity. And I will say, I'm not very good at tapping out and saying I need help. And the reality was that I needed help. And when I got to that point where it started to really sink in and my husband was reflecting to me that I was stressed out, then I picked up the phone and I called AssistPro. Yeah.
Very cool. So, Jenna, kind of from your perspective, what makes coaches, I mean, especially EOS implementers, such a great fit for you all and what you guys offer?
Yeah. Well, first, I want to say that Deb and I go way back because Deb has had a few assistants with us through Assist Pro. And, for coaches and for entrepreneurs, specifically coaches, like Deb said, really having the solopreneur life. As a coach, you're serving all of your clients, but you don't have a full staff around you to run the different functions because you don't need departments in your business. So, as a coach, having a trusted partner, someone that can tag team, that can really help run the day to day with your clients and all the things that need to happen, like Deb said, doing everything herself, that's really where the power is because it helps run your practice as a business with a strategic person to help kind of be the jack of all trades where like Deb said, she was doing all of that herself. So it's not that you need to build a staff necessarily. You should have a few key vendors, but having a great executive assistant that's high level that you trust is really the difference maker for coaches, I think. And really, it comes down to one of the most important pieces, in my opinion, and Deb can share hers too, is that your clients receiving care and communication from you when you're not burnt out through an assistant really makes a big difference in just the retention and the communication and really helping them feel that high level of support when you're in session, when you're working with a client day in and day out. I had another client, and the way he reflected it was really cool. He said it's kind of like you're in a fishbowl a little bit when you're with your clients because you're going so deep, you're helping them, you're with them, but there's all this stuff going on around outside of the 9 to 5. So it really is about having a great thinking partner, someone you trust that can help keep all the balls in the air and keep things moving forward.
Yeah, that's good. So, Deb, on you kind of alluded a little bit to this before of kind of just wearing lots of hats and then the burnout
Yeah,
aspect. But what were some of the maybe we talk about timing of kind of where maybe from a client load standpoint where that
right.
came in from, hey, 5 clients, 10 clients, like when did you start to feel like, oh wow, this is a little bit too much?
Right. So I wanted to grow my practice. That was, I mean, I knew I was growth. I'm very driven. I'm very ambitious. So that was clear. And I had this arbitrary number of when I get to 10 clients. That kind of justified it for me to say, okay, I'm going to hire an assistant. It was an arbitrary number. It could have been 5 if I'd had other things working in my life that I just felt stretched too thin. I don't have kids at home. There's just a lot of things in my world that I thought I can handle this till 10. Now, just because you can doesn't mean you should.
Mm,
And I think that was the thing that for me, I said, well, while I could do this, 10 was my number. So that prompted me to get in touch with AssistPro. And so my first assistant, she had some health challenges, and so she had to exit relatively quickly,
Mhm.
and so that prompted which I'll, kinda get into a little bit later on, but my second assistant, and because I was very growth-minded, Kelly met me in that place, and Jenna said that she used this word a number of times, and I think it can be used, but it really is so true, is trust. How do you trust? I had an experience early on in my professional career where I had an assistant who was not trustworthy,
mm,
and I had gotten burnt, and so for me, that ability to really hand things over to an assistant, I was nervous about that. But that 10 client number for me was, "Okay, game on,"
Mhm.
and I communicated to Kelly very early, "Growth mode. I want to expand my practice." And she met me in, I always say energetically, energy is a big thing for me. And energetically, she met me in this place of she challenged me, game on, let's go, and then exponential growth within a very quick period of time. So we got from 10 to 20, 20 to 30. I mean, it just was like game on. We were playing the same game and we were hitting that ball back and forth. That was the thing that really made the difference, and I recognized that I could trust her, her word was her bond, she delivered, and that was huge in my world. Do what you say you're gonna do, and the energy and the trust, and we built that very quickly. So that 10 got me to 20 very quickly, 20 got me to 30, and yeah, and that was a whole other then challenge, right?
Yeah, I'm sure. I mean, it's like the hitting the ceiling, right? Or it's almost like that aspect where you have to kind of revolute and kind of rethink things.
Right. Well, and I will say too that I had a lot of the head trash early on that I've seen some of my clients go through. I would say, "Oh, come on," an assistant. It felt very self-indulgent. And not that I hadn't had assistants, but I just, for me in this work, because it's so high touch with my clients, I was in question as to how is this gonna work? But once I got over that, and Kelly actually helped me see that I could how this could exponentially work once she wrenched some things from my grasp, but she had to literally do that. It's like, "Deb, give me your inbox, give me your email," and I'm like, "Wait a minute, this is too personal, this is too intimate, this is too how is this gonna work?" So, more than happy to fill you in there, but boy, she wrenched it from my grasp.
That brings up such an interesting point, and Jenna, I'd love to get your side of it from that that coach EA partnership and that Deb said that energy where she met that energy. How do you kind of orchestrate that as you're going through the process to find that? Because I'm sure that's not necessarily an easy thing to do.
I do feel humbly confident enough to say that I think that is a unique ability that Assist Pro has because it is our main focus. And I love what you said, Deb, that trust is that word is sometimes overused. So kind of before sharing about how Assist Pro does that, first, trust to us is one of the most important factors in a coach EA relationship because if you don't trust that person or build the trust, you're not going to delegate in an effective way. And so I do believe that majority of kind of the VA space, if you will, those people are task takers. But the issue with that is you still have to hold the mental capacity to remember to ask someone to do it for you, which then means you still have to hold the mental capacity. It doesn't help you. You've got to be able to really let that go to that person. And trust, to me, one of my clients shared this a while back. It's about emotional equity. It's building emotional equity. So, kind of this equation we've come up with to quantify this in what we do is that trust is the emotional equity, the trust that is built from positive results from action over a certain period of time. Those two things are sliding scales. So if you're in Deb's situation, there's been a major breach of trust in the beginning. The amount of time is going to take longer, and the results of action are probably going to start in very um, low risk items, and it's
Mm.
slowly going to build. So that's one of the really important things to remember because every human, every coach is different. And so trust is not, while it is an equation, that is a guide for what that individual needs to build trust. So, how Assist Pro does that, back in the day, it was just like a gut thing. And I'm like, oh my gosh, Kelly would just be great for Deb because I think that was how matching worked 10 years ago for us. But we've elevated since then. So now we really utilize Colby and the three parts of the mind. So the three parts of the mind are your thinking, feeling, doing, cognitive, affective, conative. Cognitive is your thinking, right? That's your business acumen, that's your habits, that's your experience, education, things like that. Then we have affective, which is your feeling, your personality, motivators, drivers. So we utilize DISC for that specifically. And then Colby is really important because that's how you do work. And so when you're showing up in a way of how you do work, just like Deb said, like we're just whacking that ball back and forth and growing. That's because they had great synergy in all three areas and able to do those things. So that's how we do our matching process now.
Oh, I love that. And
Mhm.
so, Deb, you have mentioned that you have run through the onboarding process a
Yeah,
couple different times, right? So,
yeah.
can you talk a little bit about how you kind of evolved in your understanding of maybe what you were looking for and how that grew and how you were able to fine tune and communicate with Jenna and find like, okay, I know this about myself and I know these are some maybe potentially weak areas or how I can complement through an EA. Can you talk a little bit to that?
Growing up, my mother would say, "You must be independent," and boy, I took that to heart. I think that's why I became, an entrepreneur was very easy for me. I just say, "Okay, I'm Miss Independent." So when I first started communicating with Assist Pro and I met and again, first assistant, great. I don't think I knew who, what I needed inside of this
Mm.
role, right? As an EOS implementer. I don't know that I really knew that all in all. I mean, I had an idea, but then you've gotta figure it out for yourself. I knew what I had been doing that was working for me, but now I had to involve another person, another human being. And so when Kelly came in, I mean, she was very different than my first assistant and Genevieve, and very different. But Genevieve was who I needed at that moment. And then Kelly came in, and Kelly was who I needed kind of phase 2. And she, as I say, she was very much very growth, her energy. She was just full tilt.
Mm.
I have an email that I communicate to my clients saying, okay, these are the players. So this is what Kelly is charged with. My husband, Greg, also helps me with some things. So I was like, Greg is going to invoice my clients. Greg is going to take care of me, like make sure that I've got hotel reservations and airline reservations and materials in my closet. I mean, because he's here, doesn't mind doing that. So when we started onboarding, the thing that was really comforting for me was that, first of all, they teed up candidates. So looking and saying and a lot of the candidates, and it may be still true to a certain degree, they were mothers, they had been professionals, they were in Kelly, I think, was had been in banking, she'd been in the travel business, and, so we had some things in common, travel, not banking, um, She just I got that she could be very organized in a way that I was not, but we had that interview, and I think our first interview, I mean, we were just da 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 talking a blue streak, which if you know both of us, you'll go, "Oh my god,
Mm.
that's some conversation." And we literally talked for well over an hour, and we dropped in. Um, then from there, it was the onboarding process of really and then that can take, you know, weeks to several months to really get up to speed on how the assistant is in service to the implementer. Kelly then took it from there. I mean, we use Asana as a platform, and so then that gives us a basis. So when I started getting to 30 plus clients, automating communication, automating notifications. She had me so set up, like I say, she took my all of my emails so that if I was in a client session, I was not having to check email. She was managing all that, and my clients also knew that they could trust her. The third onboarding was when Kelly then was elevated to inside of Assist Pro and joined the leadership team. Tracy came into my world, and completely different person than Kelly. Tracy's who I needed now and for
Mhm.
this next leg of my journey. And so, I say that's the thing, the beauty of it is that in some ways, I couldn't have anticipated, but I know it almost intuitively. And as I've matured, and I've been at this now 11 years, as of May, 11 years as an EOS implementer. So feeling totally blessed. And thank you, Gino Wickman, but just for making all this possible. And every assistant and just assist program kind of just helping me come to terms with who I needed now. And now I have Tracy, and she's just a gem. So I'm very blessed.
Oh, I love that. That's so cool. Jenna, how does that make you feel? I feel like you're just beaming over there.
I just love hearing this story because, that's what we really want to provide is really great support through humans, and I know that Kelly will forever hold such a special place in your heart, Deb. And that is where emotional equity has been built, and it hasn't always been easy. Deb just said she's had three different assistants with Assist Pro, and each one of them served a different purpose. And so thank you, Deb, just for your trust in us. I've really appreciated that so much over the years in our relationship. And I love seeing you and Kelly together every year at the conference. It just makes my heart so happy. It's the first thing Kelly says. I'm going to see Deb. We have already planned our three times we're gonna connect. So I would say also that this is a very unique conversation as well because I mean, Deb's been in our orbit for, 8 to 9, probably 9 years almost now.
Yeah.
And Assist Pro has really elevated, through that process because with Kelly and Deb, it really was based on these things in my gut, not really sure the science behind it, think they're going to be a great fit. And Kelly came in and we were kind of teaching Kelly behind that of here's what it means to, ask Deb to help her with more
Mm,
things. And so we weren't able to really quantify like the verbiage around what was happening. But as we've elevated as a business, we've been able to do that. So now, what Deb experienced with Kelly and even transitioning over to Tracy, we've been able to kind of package all of that together, all of this coaching and training that we've done behind all of these assistants, for years and years and years. And we've put it into a proven process that is delivered to those assistants so that they are able to walk with their client no matter where that client's coming in from and actually lead that onboarding process through all the experience and all the situations that we have been in over the years, which is really very exciting for us just in this new season. So,
Well,
Yeah.
I was going to ask about that from a training standpoint, because obviously there is a level of understanding at least the basics of EOS, obviously not to necessarily Deb's level, but understanding how that process works. So, Jenna, can you talk a little bit about how you work with assistants on that training, or is that lean more on Deb's side? Like, how does that work?
very excited. I'll give you guys the sneak peek, but we've packaged it and the program is actually called Indispensable by Design
Ah,
because we want our assistants to become indispensable to their clients, whether that's for a season or a lifetime. So, whether you're with EOS or just a business coach, there are some core, functions of your practice that need to happen, right? So, one is your business development because you're constantly working with clients. And, if you are a newer coach, you are really in a heavy business development mode. The other is really client service. You know, business coaches are in, like Deb said, in a high touch capacity and really nurturing their clients. So teaching them our customer service skills, the white glove experience, emotional intelligence, just all around how to take care of clients as if your client would do that themselves and how to be that bridge to extend that warmth, the connection to their clients. And that's onboarding. That is running the administrative process of EOS. That's, all those things that come along with caring for clients. Then, of course, you have which specific type of practice you're with. So for EOS specifically, there it's so fun. It's its own language. It has its own tools. It has its own proven process. So, we have a strategic partnership with EOS where we are able to help the assistants understand how that process runs from a logistics standpoint, what needs to happen and when, and what the cadence is, and teach them the language, the lingo. And so we have AssistPro University for that houses all of that. And then we have, communication and calendar management. Then we also have personal and professional support. As an entrepreneur, as a solopreneur, you are your business and your business is you. And sometimes there's not a clear line. So when you're getting help from a company or an EA, it's important to let them support you in whatever capacity you need because a lot of times personal things could really help you show up better professionally, having that support wherever you need it. So really having that training, having access to a community, to the business backing of Assist Pro, where your client is busy, or and your assistant is supporting you. So from the client perspective, it's, hey, can you ask Assist Pro about that? Can you go to them and get this question answered? So it doesn't all fall on the client to have to teach and instruct every time. But the training really comes from honestly just all of the experience that we've had over the years and the various experience we all came in with, like the leadership team from our different arenas, because you have Kelly, who's from banking, and I was in the restaurant industry and also in banking. So a lot of client service, even travel, all of those things really are what make the difference. So it's not like your traditional training, check this thing off the box. It really is about emotional intelligence, reading your client, great communication. And then, of course, you have all the EOS stuff, but it's how that gets integrated with each client specific to what they need that really is the magic behind all of that.
the other thing that you've done, Jenna, which I really appreciated, was the pulling all of the assistants together, providing ongoing training and support.
Mm,
When you've got all of those assistants and you walk in, it's such a diverse group who are sharing their experiences and getting support from other assistants. Um, because I think that it can be can be lonely as an EOS implementer. I mean, you're that
mhm,
solopreneur. It can be lonely as an assistant as well, and that kind of isolated. You can feel like you're doing, you and your implementer right? So being able to interface with your peers and other assistants and have that support, I thought was great. I mean, it was just Tracy to be able to have her feel part of a community, in the same way that we as EOS implementers are clear about our community of EOS
mhm,
guys. I mean, it was just it was just very valuable to her.
So on let's talk results, Deb. Like as you started to get in and really started to build out things, where did you start to see that freedom or even traction in your own practice as you got fully fleshed in where the EA was taking things, maybe pulling the wrenches out of your hands?
Yeah, yeah.
Where did you start to experience that?
It really was when my assistant could just handle stuff that I didn't
Mm,
need to handle. When I could be fully present in a session with my clients, when I could really start thinking about, we talk about the EOS life, um, doing what you love with people you love, um, being fairly compensated, being loving what you do and having time to pursue other passions. I think for me is when I really could pursue other passions, when I could
Mm,
travel with my husband. He's retired, and he supports me, because 'cause I'm his passion. Um, so, when I really felt like we could be freed up, to do other things in our life that we love, travel, and, I'm a golfer, so being able to have, more rounds of golf on the course with my husband, um, I think that's where I really felt it.
mm,
Um, I always say at the heart of everything I do, the source is love, and sometimes it's tough love, but that really when I am free, to be fully Deborah, I can
Mhm.
just I'm Deb, I can be fully myself, I'm not holding back, I own this. That was just such freedom for me. I don't feel like I'm trying to use anybody else's words or do it their way. I'm just being fully me, with my clients, and I'm helping, I'm making a contribution. That was what was really, really important to me. I wanna say one other thing that I think is not part of there's the nuts and bolts and the training and all that. I would say every assistant that I've worked with, we've laughed, we've cried
Mm.
through life together. There is
Mm.
a personal aspect of this that's nowhere in the job description that I think is what you discover when you are really come at it with an open heart, open mind, being adaptable, discovering who this other human being will be to you, because you don't know. And
Mhm.
I say that because literally, I laughed, cried. We've gone through life and some really ups and downs. Kelly, Tracy, Genevieve, I mean, all of them had lives. I've had a life of ups and downs, and your assistant is in that with you. And if they can't meet you, they also have to work with my husband. And Greg will like Tracy's coming in for the Great Boss workshop and she's gonna help. And so she's gonna stay with me. Greg is booking her flight. Kelly came to a session down in Phoenix, with one of my clients and sat in on that session, because she didn't know kind of what is this? That's at a depth because you never know what's gonna happen in a session room. You could have 2 people that are in a heated conversation. You could have joyful laughter. You could have tears and distress. I mean, you never know. So, I think that's the thing that's nowhere in the
mm,
job description to say, find a person that can do life with you, not just
Mhm.
assistant, but they can do life.
Mm. Thank you for sharing that so much, Deb. Oh my gosh. Woo, that just made my heart so happy because that is really what Assist Pro strives to be. And I think, majority of our assistants know very sensitive information. They're holding credit card information. I mean, some assistants have social security numbers and they're scheduling therapy appointments and,
Yeah,
major personal high trust situations. And that level of security clearance, if you will, but from a trust perspective. And so that's where I really try to do things differently at Assist Pro because I think the message that's out there is just get this stuff off your plate, get somebody to help you do it. Just, hire somebody, get it as cheap as you can. You just need an assistant. But when you have an assistant that does life with you, like what Deb is saying, that is the difference maker. That is where you can go and enjoy your life or you have support when life is falling apart. And I cannot thank you enough for sharing that, Deb.
you are so
Thank you so much.
thank you.
I'm a third party and I got chills. So that's a man. No, I think I mean, it really shows the value, and I think I would argue that the COVID era probably amplified this, but this deep need for connection
Yeah,
that
Mhm.
I think as maybe it's because technology has just adapted so much over the last 10, 15 years that everyone relies on that, and the art of conversation and relational building is I hate to say it, but it feels like it's kind of becoming a lost art. And so when you have those deeper connections where it's life on life, human on human, it's a lot more
Mhm.
meaningful. And so I love that that's orchestrated. And I love that you brought that out because I think it is something that's not, yeah, you want to partner the right personalities together, the right skill combinations, but at the same time, like you are going to walk through the highs and lows of life. And so
Yeah.
that's really cool. You mentioned something, Deb, on the client experience side of things. I wanted to
Yeah.
kind of dive into that, really, probably from both of you, of how you kind of like orchestrate that. Cause I would assume coaches are very protective of that client experience, right? That's their lifeblood, right? That's
Yeah.
their offer. And so
Yeah.
can you talk a little bit, maybe Deb first and then Jen, if you want to share a little bit on how you invite your EA into that experience to help them orchestrate and kind of navigate that?
Yeah.
Could I sorry, Deb, could I just add one thing really quickly
Yeah.
about what you said a second ago? So I think you're talking about being a business coach and being in sessions with your clients where they could have an explosive argument or tears or joy and laughter. And so when you are in a place as a business coach, guiding your clients through such emotion and depth, having an assistant where you can have that same experience and that can
Mm,
be a natural extension of you is extremely valuable as a coach to have that same type of connection and experience if you're the one facilitating to such an emotional degree with your clients.
Yeah.
So I just wanted to add that.
Yeah. No,
Thanks.
absolutely. Thank you. So your question about introducing, like, how do you introduce? So I do have a standard email that says who the players are and what their roles are. All of my assistants, they're the client connection from a communication, scheduling. If I'm in a session and something happens with a client, and I communicate this in person as well, I want them to know that my assistant, whether it's Kelly, Tracy, um, they're there to solve problems that I won't get to perhaps for hours,
mm,
because I really wanna be fully present with my clients.
mhm,
And you mentioned COVID, I'll just insert this, my dad was in memory care during COVID, and so that was the communication that I would say to my clients, "Look, if I get a call, I may only be step aside for 2 minutes, but is it okay if I take this call?" And all of them were like, "Oh my gosh, yes." My assistants are there also to problem solve so that my clients know they don't have to wait for me. And they've actually developed relationships, which is like, "Oh my gosh, I love Kelly. Oh my gosh, I love Tracy. Oh my gosh, they're so great." They develop their own relationships, not just with their assistants, but even my clients. So they know they can pick up the phone. They can or email or whatever. I had, this 90-minute meeting that I've got today. I could just tell that there was a sense of urgency, and I texted Tracy and I said, "Urgent. This is what needs to happen. We need to get him dates immediately, including this week, wherever it needs to be fit in." And that was he I saw this email. He was like, "Thank you for the sense of urgency. Thank you, Tracy, for taking my call." I mean, we're like a well-oiled machine. You know that your assistant has to be able to anticipate a problem, a challenge, a request. They're anticipating, just as I would do seeing around corners, they're anticipating and they're out in front of it. They know what a session rooms should look like. They know that for an annual, this is what I'm gonna need. They know that my husband may drive me at the end of a long day so that I can make a session I mean, they're right there with me,
mm,
and my clients know this, and they're using, um, those relationships to problem solve or meet a request with a sense of urgency because their time is precious. So,
mm. Yeah. Jenna, any color to add on that with as far as kinda how it goes and integrating into that whole experience?
Yeah, I think Deb really reflected the power of that and seeing around corners and really tag teaming. I think if you I can probably share more to like how you would do that. So if you are a business coach, think about where you are kind of on the trust scale, right, with your equation and where you're starting with your assistant, and know who you are and what works for you best. So there is not a one size fits all. As far as introducing your assistant to your clients, it can be as simple as including them on an email and including one statement about how they're gonna help or, extending that trust through the assistant. So when you're getting started, it can be as simple as, "Hi, client. I'm connecting you with my great assistant, Tracy. She knows exactly what needs to happen. You're gonna be in great hands with her today. I'll circle back to you as soon as I can personally." And then that assistant knows I'm up to bat. It's my turn. I step in. I know exactly how Deb would want me to communicate this because I know Deb, her personality, how she treats her clients. We already have that energetic synergy going on, and so that assistant comes in. So it's a trust extension from Deb because the client trusts Deb already. So there is more trust given through that connection, through the words from Deb, and then that assistant comes in with actions that then back up that trust that is being displayed. And then the client sees, oh my gosh, yeah, they're communicating to me exactly the way that Deb would. And then the relationship really grows from there because now we do have clients, or I hear this all the time. Oh, I emailed the assistant because I knew, so and so was in a session today and that was going to get to the client. So just from a tactical standpoint, it's really just expressing your trust in your assistant to your client and then having that assistant teed up and ready to go to execute.
Jenna, you said something that I think is like we say communication, right? Oh my, you talk about a lost art. Kelly was funny because when we were looking for a new assistant, who ultimately was Tracy, I said, "Kelly, I'm gonna know that I have the right one when I get some kind of written thank you,
Mhm.
communication follow-up," which I'd never gotten before, but I was like, "I'll know." And Kelly had assured me, she goes, "I've got your back. I'm gonna find you somebody amazing. They're never gonna be as amazing as me, but I'm gonna find you someone amazing." Tracy sent a letter to Kelly, and Kelly goes, "Here it is. This is what I got." And her style of communication, no typos, beautifully written, and
Mhm.
that was my background, was communications and words and language, so when I saw that, I was like, "Bingo.
Yep.
This is my new assistant," and I know that I don't have to read anything, she proofs my stuff. That communication, being able to with the right tone and the right way, and sometimes I need to get on the phone, and sometimes a text is okay, or it's an email, whatever. Um, and I should also say all of my assistants have been virtual. So they're not in town, they have to be excellent communicators because that's what they're gonna be doing a lot of the
Yep.
time is via, um, a Zoom or an email or a phone call or a text or whatever it is. So, yeah.
Yep. Oh, I love that you shared that because that was one of the things that was top of Kelly's radar. And I remember her telling me, I'm so excited because the way she talks and the way she communicates and the way that words are important, Deb is gonna love her.
Yeah.
And that is so incredibly important. And we had a game for a long time at Assist Pro. How long is it going to take for their clients to realize you're virtual? So our assistants are your assistants. They just happen to not be where you live. And I think that is a really big differentiator in the market because good communication is a lost art form. And my teenage daughter can attest to how focused I am on that because I'm like, girlfriend, this text message could be read 5 different ways. Let's infuse a little bit of emotion. Okay. And so she loves when I do that to her every day now. But it's so important because it's not just saying what you think needs to be said, it's how can I communicate to be understood and
Yeah.
how can I make sure that I am understanding? And that I think that's probably one of the biggest things we really focus on as a company.
So, Deb, looking back, is there anything that you wish you would have done sooner when it came to an EA and bringing them in? Is there anything that you would look and do differently kinda with all the knowledge you have now?
I don't know. I mean, you know, you arrive when you arrive, right? It's a journey. And I think that now, you know, it's always hindsight. Now knowing what I know, maybe I would have pulled the trigger sooner
Mm,
to bring somebody in, but I convinced myself that I could handle it. It was all manageable. And I think that I was used to operating. I operate in startups, and you know, I can handle a certain amount of stress or whatever. But I think that there's a way of I was never good at asking for help.
mm,
And so some of the insight was more about be willing to ask for help, because I certainly needed it. And I think that ability to recognize when you need help and that there is some place you can go, someone you can ask and say, I need help. How can you help me? And that they kind of feel the struggle, the pain. Somebody a long time ago said to me, well, you know, Deb, suffering is optional. And I
Mm,
literally, I've told people before, I think, when they're struggling with something, I think you know what you need to do.
mm.
Um, and I guess if you're not gonna make this call and move forward, then I'm gonna say to you, I guess you just haven't struggled or suffered enough.
mm,
Get tired of the suffering, you're gonna make a different call. So,
mm.
That's good.
So powerful.
That
So
is.
powerful.
yeah.
So, Jenna, for a coach that's maybe on the fence, right? They're a
Yeah.
little curious. They haven't quite pulled the trigger yet. Maybe they're like, I'm not quite there yet. What advice would you give for them to explore the option of something like this?
So I would say, 7 to 10 clients is kind of that sweet spot that we've always said would be a great time to explore. Um, really know yourself and what you need. You know, are and what stage you're in. Are you really in biz dev and building up your practice? And my urgent plea, my heart is to find the right person for you because you can bring on someone to help you with tasks and do all of that. And if that's what you need, that is great. If you really want a running partner, really make sure you get the right fit. That's really important because that is a big difference maker. So, tactically, if you're between 7 and 10 clients, you need an assistant, find one. Think about who you are as a person. As a coach, what are the different assessments that you do? Colby is huge in EOS, of course. So, what is your personality? What do you think that you need? Do you need someone to set up some systems? Do you need someone to just communicate on your behalf and have your back? Think about what you really need. And then where can you source this person? What's going to be the best fit for you? I think that is where each coach finds their own niche with their clients. Why does one company choose a coach over another coach? Obviously, EOS is a proven system and a proven process for every entrepreneurial company of a certain size, but they choose the coach based on similarities and based on synergy as well, which is really important. So just think about maybe a small exercise is what type of assistant would I like to have? And just let yourself think about that and feel that a little bit because there is emotion involved in it.
Well, man, this has been such a great conversation. I appreciate both of you coming on. Deb, I always like to ask business coaches that come on to do a little bit of reflection back on, hey, let's say you have all the knowledge and experience you have now. If you
Mhm.
were looking back at rookie Deb just starting out in business coaching, what advice would you give yourself? I always like to hear answers on this.
So I think for me, it is that know thyself. There's something about deeply understanding and valuing, appreciating your unique abilities.
Mm,
And we talk about that. That's a Dan Sullivan expression term. But I think to identify those things that you say, I truly love and I'm great at these things. This is my highest and best use. This is my sweet spot. If you don't know your sweet spot, and I think early on I probably didn't, so I've always done a lot of work on myself, but rookie, I think trust your instincts.
Mm,
They will serve you well, and I do. Never stop. having conversations of possibility. You can call it business development or whatever, but I just go, those conversations that you're opening up and wanting to make a meaningful contribution, just have every single conversation that you can have. Being willing to ask for help, Deb, you need to ask for help. Um, and then know that your counterpart, that who you're looking for can meet you in a place where they're also going to be functioning at their highest and best use. They're gonna be their love and great can complement your love and great in a way
Mm,
that makes you just such that dynamic duo. And you don't have any idea what this person will come to mean to you. Trust the process. I think those are things I would have said to myself, looking back that I didn't know. And, now I have the benefit of looking back and going, wow, what a journey, right?
Yes. Oh, I love that. That's so good. And Jenna, I'm going to pass you the other question that I always ask. So we'll just kind of just split it up. But
sure.
so, what is a lesson that you're in the middle of learning in this current moment?
Ooh,
You can get as deep as you want.
yeah, that's a great question considering I'm restructuring my entire company right now. Um, a lesson that I'm in the middle of learning right now is just take the best next step. I think that in the past, I always wanted to have everything perfect and do it all and know that these were the 10 steps. And sometimes there's beauty in knowing, I think this is the next 4 steps and here's the next step I'm going to take in that direction. And then I can figure it out. I can ask for help. I can, think about what the process needs to happen from here. So it's take the best next step in the direction that you want to go.
Oh, that's good. I want to give both of you the opportunity real quick. If somebody wants to get in touch with you about a variety of things, maybe want to talk about EOS Deb or Jenna want to talk about how to, go through the process with you all. Deb, what's the best place to get in touch with you?
Well, I have a microsite, and Debra.Niewald at eosworldwide.com. All you have to do is Google me. I'm out there in the world,
Yes.
and go to, EOS Worldwide, but I have a microsite, and, I'm part of the rocket fuel community, so I teach integrator master classes, so through Rocket Fuel University, so I'm out there.
Google. Google is the way. Maybe it'll
Yep.
be quickly be Chat GPT. I don't know, all the AI. But, yeah. And Jenna, what about you? What's if someone wants to get in touch with you, what's the best place to get in touch with you?
Yeah. So on LinkedIn, you can find me, of course. That's where we all are, right? Jenna
Yep.
Spencer. And then assistpro.com. You're welcome to send me an email. I love just direct communication. So Jenna at assistpro.com.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for coming on.
Thank
I really
you.
enjoyed the conversation. I think it's very beneficial. I think everyone, if you're a business coach, a consultant, an advisor, wherever you are, solopreneur, or even further, an executive, I mean, you can benefit from having an assistant. So I appreciate Jenna and her team's heart behind it, the human centered approach that obviously resonated with Deb as well. So that's clearly a core of part of who they are. So I appreciate all of you. And Deb, thanks for coming on and having the conversation with us.
You are so welcome. Jenna, thank you, thank you, thank you.
Oh my gosh, thank you. Thank you
Alright.
so much. You have filled my love cup so much today.
I like
Because
that a lot.
we're so busy and, we've just been in each other's orbit for so many years,
Yeah,
so just hearing all of this, thank you so much, and Cam, you're awesome. Oh my gosh, just hanging out with you at the EOS conference and all the amazing things
right.
that 90 is doing. I mean, just thank you so much for this, and we'll see you in Kansas City. We'll all be together in Kansas City next
Woo-hoo,
spring.
woo-hoo. Yeah,
Yay!
Can't wait.
exactly.
It's going to be awesome.
It's gonna
Alright,
be awesome. Okay, thanks everyone.
Take care. All right.
bye.
Bye.
Take care.
That's it for today's episode of the Ambitious Coach Lab. My hope is that something here helps you sharpen your craft and keep building a coaching practice you're proud of. Before we wrap, a quick thank you to our sponsor, 90. If you're coaching leadership teams, having your clients run their entire world in 90 truly elevates your work. Vision, rocks, scorecards, issues, it all lives in one centralized place. The clarity keeps your clients aligned between sessions and makes every conversation you have with them more focused and more impactful. I've used 90 with over 500 leadership teams, and I can tell you it makes great companies better and great coaches even more effective.
feel free to use promo code AC20 for 20% off. Again, that's AC20 for 20% off. Thanks for hanging out with me today. I'm Cam, cheering you on as you grow your ambitious coaching practice. We'll see you next time.